Unless it can record internally somehow.
Maybe.
Looks like it's doing it. I'm just going to have it go just in case. All right. So, hey there, Internet. We are now live streaming. I'm here with my good friend and fellow co-instructor at Academy of Art, Bob Degus.
Hey, everybody.
Bob is a film producer, director, and Oscar voter for short films. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And tell me about some of the films that you've produced and made.
You know, I produced probably the one people know the most of is Pleasantville with Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon. Worked on a Vin Diesel movie. I was an executive on Austin Powers. I was a studio executive at New Line Cinema. And then I've segued more into indie film and then of late into virtual reality.
And so we co-teach a class together, intro VR class at Academy of Art. And one thing that we're constantly talking about before class is the Oscars. Yeah. And I bet on the Oscars with my brother every year, like $50. You vote on the Oscars every year for short films. And I've been saying for ages that I think a VR film is going to win an Oscar. In a week or two back, one actually did. Yeah. And it kind of like got us into this discussion in class, and I said, oh man, this would be great for my podcast, and so I'm happy that you've taken me up to do this live stream podcast. So let's talk about this movie that won this special VR prize.
Yeah, it's really exciting for I think for virtual reality because, you know, and first off, I'm speaking only as myself, not in any way on behalf of the Academy, but, you know, the Academy is kind of this body of professional filmmakers who we pride ourselves on being really great judges of cinematic storytelling, and I think the fact that they're awarding an Oscar for this project is kind of saying that you know, they're seeing virtual reality as kind of the next evolution or a continuing evolution of cinema. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, I was looking back on like the times they've given it, and it's only to like very historic events like Toy Story, I think was the last one, and they gave it because the animation and the CGI was just so astounding that they said that we need to give something to Pixar for this. And then prior to that, it was like, you know, I don't know, like Snow White or something. Yeah. So it really comes around once every like 15 years, 20 years or something.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's an award given by the Board of Governors. And so if you think about the Academy, there's a number of branches. There's sort of the cinematography branch, the editors branch, the, you know, production designers branch. And each of those branches has 3 governors. And then those governors make up the Board of Governors. And then so the Board of Governors are who is awarding a special award for this piece.
Mm-hmm. And so this piece, it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's really unique. It's made by the director who did Birdman, and the name of the film...
It's Carne Sana.
There we go.
Arena. Carne Arena.
There we go. And basically it's like you are crossing the border from Mexico into the U.S., and there are bodies along the border. I haven't actually had the chance to experience it, so I'm always hearing it from other parties, and it seems like each person I talk to about it has like a completely different takeaway. Yeah. Like my friend Pfeiffer said that you can actually put your head inside of the bodies and see like the heart beating, but it's something that you can only see at this museum in LA right now. Right. And they're trying to bring it to a museum in China right now as well, but it's completely back ordered. So it's like, even as someone who votes on the Oscars, have you seen this piece?
No, not yet. But see, we wouldn't vote on it because it's a special award that they're giving, you know. And I think what's also exciting about it is that the Academy's sort of purview is looking at the theatrical arena, which are events that people pay, generally speaking, to go see a movie theater and watch a movie. And because this was a public event, I think, where you have to pay to go see it and participate in it, that they kind of felt that it rose to that standard.
Mm-hmm. Certainly the most popular VR film, I think, to date would be, you know, especially with this Oscar win now. So last year I know there was a short animated film that got nominated that was done in VR, and I actually got to interview the producers on it. It's a very cool piece that they did with like Google, and it is one shot instead of a car. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking about how the Academy would actually get this piece when they see it is on a DVD?
Well, in that case, that piece would have been, they would have extracted a flat 2D version of it, a little bit like we do in class where we're watching VR pieces with a screen.
Like the equal rectangular,
yes.
The panoramic.
And so that they would have pulled, the VR filmmakers would have pulled out an extraction that would have, followed the piece and then been something that could have run on a traditional projector, or have been streamed, or have been sent out on the DVDs. But for that piece, it would not have been something that somebody had looked at in the headset.
Yeah, so they didn't send out a bunch of Google Cardboards to try and get a win.
No.
That would have been, if I was on their marketing team, I would have made sure everyone had gotten a Google Cardboard.
There's a rule that it has to be, anything that we judge has to be playable in the Samuel Goldwyn Theater. And so whatever formats that theater can run is a theater that can be.
But they can always give you like how companies will give screeners just to kind of like.
Oh yeah.
So they could give you like a screener of their film with a cardboard.
I don't know the rules about that.
That might be illegal. That might be like a bribe or something.
There's
it's a cardboard. It's like a headset. You're imagine then the next year somebody gives all of the Oscar voters Vives.
Yeah.
Wireless Vives.
Yeah, there's specific stuff that they're allowed to kind of do outreach to us with, but that film last year they would have done just a straight extraction of the 360 experience.
It's so strange though, because it's sort of like watching it in the medium in a way that it was never really meant to be viewed. I don't know, like I think the qualifier we said in class would be like watching like a movie with, that was meant to have sound and music is a silent piece.
Yeah.
That's at least how I kind of see it.
Well, and that's also a challenge. I mean, there's always kind of a discussion when you're taking a movie that the filmmakers have designed to be seen in 3D, and then you're watching it on DVD or you're watching it in not 3D. Is that putting that film at an advantage or not an advantage? And there's kind of two sides to that.
Totally, yeah. So that being said, do you think that it's like a steep curve for VR or 360 filmmakers who are not, haven't done The Revenant to like, get nominated or get Oscar attention?
In VR, yeah, for a while, because there's each of the departments in the Academy, or branches I guess is a better word. So the cinematographers look at all the films and they pick the 5 best cinematography nominations, and the editors do the same, and each of the branches kind of does the same thing. So there's no VR branch in the Academy currently, and I think there may be a point at some point if IMAX, kind of goes through with their sort of whole concept of, putting VR experiences coexisting with theater chains, so you can actually go to a theater chain, you could see a traditional movie, or you could see an immersive VR experience. I think when there gets to be a point where there's maybe 10 or 15 or maybe even 20 of those experiences a year, then the conversation will change, because then will be a pool of VR experiences, so they're not, if there's just 2 or 3, it's not really a contest. And that's like, I know with the animation, there was a period of time where they looked at, are there enough animated films this year to award an Oscar, and there would be yes, and so then that year they would award the Oscar,
instead of it just going on Disney's mantle like year and year.
So that's I think with VR, and I also think it would have to fit sort of the mandate of being a theatrical experience, where you would be going someplace and it would be something that a group of people could do, that they'd be paying
to watch it,
to watch, because those are kind of the things that
they need to show, like there's a monetary incentive for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Academy is awarding artistic merit, but I do think it's a commercial theatrical experience.
You need to prove that you can cross those thresholds. It can't be a museum or public display.
So I think there would then need to be some branch that would be the VR branch of the Academy, and that seems like a long journey.
Right now, it seems like it's the short films branches that are probably getting a lot of the films that are shot in 360, trying to cross those hurdles and qualify. Have you received any this year that were 360?
You know, we wouldn't know because we would be watching them in a theater, and so there would be no way to know. Like I remember seeing that the animated one from last year, the year before, and I didn't know it was a VR piece when I first saw it. I just assumed it was a straight.
Oh, really?
Straight piece. I didn't know it was a VR piece. Did it not show it?
It showed it somewhat cut off, or was it not?
They cut off. They cropped.
Oh no!
They cropped. A little bit like we do in class, where we're panning, like where it's flat, not where it's so yeah, so we didn't know, or I didn't know. Someone, the animators, who followed it might have known, but my first encounter of it was just seeing it.
So like it probably didn't. Probably at that point was just like, okay, this is easy. It's just like one tripod shot in animation. Over time, I can see why that would be less of an exciting film than if you're able to look around and see the car change around you.
You could see that within how they, it clearly was a strong enough piece story-wise that it, got nominated.
Definitely, yeah. But so this year you're saying you can't even tell if something was done like that.
We wouldn't know because we watch it, we go to
almost like a blind way of seeing it. Like you don't know if it's VR or standard.
No, we wouldn't know. Like we wouldn't know if it was shot on film or if it was shot on digital. We're just sitting in a movie theater and they're running them and we're evaluating them.
Interesting. I've heard it also is 24 frames, but I don't know if that's...
There's a technical specification that goes with a definition of what is a theatrical movie, and again, it's what can be run in the theaters that we view the things in, which traditionally are 24 frames per second, because that was the speed of at least film in the United States. So that's where that comes from. So
in terms of the Oscars this year, are you feeling more Dunkirk or Post, or?
I don't know yet. I have to see. I keep seeing like every other movie I see. I think, oh wow, that one could win, and then I'll go to that one could win.
I mean, I always feel like movies that get released in the fall have a greater chance because they get more viewed.
Yeah.
And so like I heard somebody like, oh yeah, I finally saw Dunkirk last week. Versus like something like The Post, it's coming out so close to.
Yeah, I think they staged. I think the marketing people staged that intentionally because then it's a conversation.
Somebody knew about the Paradise Papers and said we're releasing our trailer the day before the Paradise Papers thing. It's good marketing, smart Spielberg. So we've seen the director did Birdman, The Revenant, transfer over to VR. What other, Oscar-winning or Oscar-nominated filmmakers do you think would be interested in the VR platform, or do you think you would be interested to see them make a movie? Like, I always picture, when I'm writing a script, I'm always like, what would Martin Scorsese do in 360? How would he build the tension? How would Tarantino build the tension in the room, with a robbery happening in VR?
Yeah.
Who would you be most interested in?
Certainly Scorsese I think would be great because of just it would be interesting in a way to see how he would deal with moving camera and blocking within the 360 space.
Yeah.
For sure. So I would go with him.
Scorsese as well. Yeah. There's so many filmmakers out there. Do you think that certain genres are skewed more toward VR? Like certainly the animated film got nominated first. This sort of experimental.
Yeah, I think the thing with animation in VR that's such a great fit is that animation kind of lives within the gaming engine, and so then you can have control over the entire environment. And if I want to walk through that closet over there and I'm viewing it, I can do that in a fully created space. I think it becomes much more challenging when you're where you're working with live actors and you're working with real spaces, the ability to move through the space, and then how do you tell a story where the camera, like this camera, is somewhat fixed in its place. And I think that's the conversation that I think there's a lot of excitement about VR, but everybody's trying to figure out that language. you know, really like they were 100 years ago, a cinema, trying to figure out, well, we have theater and it works, and now we have this movie camera. How do we tell a story with that? And I think we're there again with this technology. And I think that's why they gave this Oscar, is because I think it's really this piece that combines super cutting edge technology with a really powerful story and an important message. I think that, so it's kind of firing on all
and a filmmaker sort of already, you know, qualified in their eyes with all the films he's done.
And also bringing, you know, with Chivo's cinematography, bringing a real cinematic look to the piece, as well as the performances, and then bringing the whole experiential, you know, where you, the viewer, are kind of going through this experience and really pushing the technology to a little bit even beyond what it can do.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to see different people like Catherine Bigelow tackle it, Jon Favreau. It seems like with every major blockbuster franchise film now, there needs to be a 360 film component to it.
Yeah. Well, they seem to be doing that with, you know, even like with Blade Runner has one.
Oh, I haven't seen the Blade Runner one. Is it good?
I haven't seen it, but I just downloaded it. So.
Is it on Oculus or Vive?
Of course.
Well, one thing I will say, the Dunkirk VR experience was awful. It was just like, it didn't seem like something that they ever intended for VR. It was like an afterthought in their marketing, like, oh, we should do a VR thing, because like you were literally in a plane where things are moving around you, but the plane isn't moving, so it feels like very weird in the headset. And it just, you know, I hope, like that's who I would say, in addition to Scorsese, I would love to see someone like Chris Nolan do like some really trippy Memento, Inception-esque, like 360 film that really just like messes with your mind in a way. I think he would be great for it, and certainly, you know, you look at these filmmakers, they get to a certain point and they kind of get like bored, or almost like, you know, like they've done so much, you know, in a way they can reinvent themselves. Wes Anderson could be another one, you know.
I think some of the pieces that I've kind of felt that way about some of the marketing VR movie pieces that are kind of tie-ins are slightly disappointing in a way, because they do feel like they're second cousins in a way to the movie, whereas a piece that is thought through, like I think with Kevin Bigelow's piece, it's thought through to be done in VR, and different decisions are made because it's in VR than because it's a traditional cinema. Or
I almost wish they would make the director like have to direct the VR piece too. That goes around with marketing. Yeah,
but they may not. The directors may not be. I mean, it's, to me, it's such a different way of thinking about staging and setting up a shot and blocking.
You take a director like Sam Mendes, who came from a theater background, and you know, is he doing another James Bond movie? I don't know. It seems like the perfect opportunity for him. You know, if he's doing a James Bond film, they want to do a VR piece that he can then sort of use that as a piggybacking experience to learn VR and, you know, learn what works. And then they can do some really cutting edge stuff too. But in terms of Oscar qualifying films, I think, you know, what do you think will end up winning VR Oscar first? Will it be a short animated, a short narrative, or a short documentary?
I think it'll be a short, for sure. I think it just where the kind of technology is. I think it'll be a hybrid that's an animated environment with actors with.
But it's a documentary subject. Yeah.
But it'll kind of be because I think that's where right now the strongest VR pieces are the ones that live in the kind of the hybrid between the three worlds. You know, I think the animated pieces are the strongest because they're existing. You can fully move in them, and then when you combine actors, then you're in a space where you're working in CGI and actors and still real-time compositing stuff.
So you think it will take an IMAX level sort of experience in VR for the Academy to shift their ways?
I think for the Academy...
Because you're one of the youngest members of the Academy, you told me recently.
Not anymore, but...
not anymore, but the average age of an Academy member is like what, like 190, or like that's the median?
What was your question?
My question was, what do you think it will take for a paradigm shift for, like, you know, people to start putting on a Vive and watching, like, you know, some of them like that?
I think for the Academy, the key threshold is going to be a large enough theatrical, where there are enough theater installations of VR that are generating, you know, enough content where there is at least 15 projects to pick 5 from that are the 5 nominees from the 15. That's for the Academy. I'm not an Emmy voter, and I know that there's been some VR pieces getting Emmy. You know.
But I could care less about the Emmys. This is the Oscars. This is the Oscar podcast. Yeah. We'll do another one for the Emmys when it comes around. But certainly that's gotten more attention. But I think everyone in their mind's eye thinks Oscar is like the gold award. Yeah. Emmys.
It is gold. I've seen them. They're gold.
Are like Emmys are like silver, see-through?
I think they're gold too.
They're gold too. Okay.
But because the Academy is theatrically based, and because it's I think would need to get enough, you know, VR experiences, you know, where there's a big enough pool to vote for them for each year. And then I think that the other piece that would have to be, there would have to be a VR branch at the Academy, and that like just seems years and years of
in advance
of I mean, because each branch does their nominating, and so there'd be nobody to nominate VR.
And the Academy Awards are already this long, and they're like, we're trying to get it shorter every year because of attention, retention, all of that stuff. That being said, it is, you know, a new thing, so maybe it would add an extra interest for them to do that. I hope they do, at least. But so I feel like it will happen, you know, in 5 years maybe. It'll start,
no, not in 5 years.
You think? Okay.
I think it'll be there really will need to be like 10 or 12 or 13 of, you know,
these sort of like LA
things for there to be a big enough pool that you know, because I think with the animation, which is a newer award, you know, they had to get up to where there were 15 or 18 movies to give that award out.
I wonder what they had to do in order to like get the film into the theater and, you know, pull that off even.
The animation?
Yeah.
Well, animation's a giant business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like really, it's like those movies make a lot of money and are very successful. So there's a great, I think this year there's, I don't know how many there are, but there are quite a few this year. So that is kind of where sort of the theatrical VR experience is going to have to go. But I think then there would be a conversation that would happen when there were maybe 5 or 8 VR experiences about, oh, how do we, you know, how does this get awarded for excellence? What would be the process for that? Yeah. You know, so I think it would probably be a conversation over many years of thinking about.
Well, let's hope sooner rather than later. I want to thank you again for being my guest today. Okay. Bob Degus. You can find more info at bobdegus.com. Email him if you have any more questions about VR in Oscar noms. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any follow-up questions, you can use the hashtag on Twitter, 360filmpodcast. Thank you guys again for watching. Please subscribe. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.